Every guy wants confidence, not fake loud confidence, not Instagram captions, real presence, the kind where you walk into a room and you're calm, you speak slower, you don't need approval. That energy doesn't come from motivation videos, it doesn't come from flexing, it comes from one thing: competence, real skill. Today we're breaking down how building actual ability changes how you carry yourself, how people respond to you, and how you move through the world. Because dangerous in a good way doesn't mean aggressive, it means capable. Let's get into it. Running example for this entire video: learning boxing. When people say someone is dangerous, they usually mean one of two things: unpredictable or powerful. We're not talking about unpredictable, we're talking about controlled power. The guy who knows he can handle himself but doesn't need to prove it. That energy comes from having options, and options come from skill. If you know how to fight, you don't look for fights. If you know how to make money, you don't panic over small expenses. If you know how to speak well, you don't fear conversation. Skill reduces fear. Fear reduction changes posture. Posture changes presence. That's the chain reaction. Psychology shows something simple: when you feel capable, your stress response drops. Think about your first boxing class. You're stiff, you're awkward, you're overthinking every move. Now imagine 6 months later, you understand footwork, you know basic defense, you've sparred before. Same gym, same room, different internal state. The situation didn't change, your competence did. And competence rewires how you interpret challenge. Instead of "this is scary," it becomes "I can handle this." That shift is massive. Self-mastery starts with control. Not controlling other people, controlling yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your impulses. In boxing, when someone swings at you, your first instinct is panic, flinch, freeze, swing wildly. But training teaches control. Breathe, guard up, move. That control transfers outside the gym. Someone disrespects you verbally, old version reacts instantly. New version pauses. Control creates options. Options create power. Power creates calm. This is what people feel when they say someone has presence. Here's the uncomfortable truth: most people avoid becoming dangerous because it requires discomfort. Skill takes repetition. Repetition takes boredom. Boredom takes discipline. Your brain prefers comfort, scrolling, gaming, easy dopamine. But competence lives on the other side of repetition. Boxing 3 times a week, even when tired. Even when progress feels slow, most quit before they feel capable. And that's why most never experience that quiet confidence. Here's where it gets psychological. When you train consistently, something changes. You stop saying "I'm trying boxing." You start saying "I box." That identity shift matters, because identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as someone who trains, you train. If you see yourself as someone disciplined, you act disciplined. Becoming dangerous is less about muscles and more about identity. You start carrying yourself differently. Chin up, eyes steady, movements slower. Not because you're acting, because your brain believes you can handle things. Belief changes body language. Body language changes how people treat you. A lot of people try to look confident without building skill. Loud voice, aggressive tone, fake dominance. But real confidence is quiet. In boxing, the most skilled guy in the room is rarely the loudest. He doesn't need to perform. He already knows what he can do. This is the difference between ego and competence. Ego needs validation. Competence needs practice. When you build real skill, you don't chase approval. You chase improvement. That makes you grounded. Another psychological shift happens. You increase your tolerance for stress. Sparring is stressful. Your heart rate rises, your brain speeds up. Adrenaline hits. But over time, your nervous system adapts. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable. That adaptation transfers. Job interview, hard conversation, public speaking. Your body doesn't spike as hard because you've trained under pressure before. This is huge. Stress tolerance is a superpower, and it's built, not born. Here's where consistency comes in. You don't become dangerous in one intense week. You become dangerous through compounding. 3 boxing sessions a week for months. Small improvements stack. Footwork gets sharper. Timing improves. Confidence builds. At first, nothing feels different. Then one day, a new guy walks into the gym and you realize you're calm. You're not the beginner anymore. That's compounding effort. Small daily actions creating a new version of you. Here's something interesting. When you build competence, people treat you differently. Not because you demand respect, because you radiate stability. You don't overreact. You don't over-explain. You don't chase attention. In the gym, people notice who trains consistently. Outside the gym, people notice who stays composed. Consistency builds reputation. Reputation builds influence. And influence feels like power, but it's earned quietly. Now, let's zoom out. Boxing is just the example. The principle applies everywhere. Money, fitness, communication, business. Academics becoming dangerous in a good way means you can handle yourself financially, physically, emotionally. You don't panic easily. You don't react impulsively. You don't crumble under pressure. That's self-mastery. And self-mastery creates freedom, because when you can control yourself, you're not easily controlled by others. The biggest change isn't external, it's internal. You stop seeking permission. You stop shrinking in rooms. You stop assuming you're less capable because you have proof. Proof changes identity. Identity changes behavior. Behavior changes outcomes. That's the psychology. Dangerous doesn't mean violent. It means capable and disciplined. It means you could escalate, but you choose control. That's power. Everyone wants confidence. Real confidence comes from competence. Skill reduces fear. Reduced fear changes presence. Control creates options. Repetition builds skill. Skill builds identity. Identity shifts posture and behavior. Stress tolerance increases through exposure. Consistency compounds. Competence earns respect. Self-mastery creates freedom. If you want to feel dangerous in a good way, stop chasing the vibe. Chase the skill. Pick one area. Train consistently. Embrace repetition. Because when you build real competence, something shifts. You walk slower. You speak calmer. You react less. And people feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're capable. If you're choosing mastery over comfort, comment building and subscribe if you're here to level up for real.